I don't know about you, but I am envious sometimes of people who can switch their brain off. They can mindlessly consume product. They can tell themselves what they've purchased is fantastic. They haven't wasted their money. And today I found a couple of those people. To them, anyone who hates the game is living in their own deluded fantasy, because if Phil Spencer at Xbox say the game's a success and it's great, that is the truth, and to question it would mean you're questioning a corporation. What are you doing? And we're going to start with this video titled Starfield Haters Lose. Okay then, and we've got someone wearing a Starfield t-shirt, a Starfield hat. They're totally impartial. This is going to be quite objective. And I actually didn't know they produce Starfield t-shirts. Maybe I'll buy one for a cousin or a family member I don't really like. That way they'll get bullied at school. Wouldn't that be fun? But let's see what this guy's got to say.
Starfield haters, listen, you lose, all right?
Oh,
Starfield is a
I'm
massive
hurt.
success. Millions of players are playing this game across the world and having the time of their life. And you just need to move on. Stop crying. Go home.
Oh, well, this has totally convinced me. Is it possible for me to buy some sort of super deluxe edition of Starfield as an apology to Todd? I'm so sorry.
If you think I'm just a fanboy blowing smoke, well, as you hit the
Who would have thought that? Starfield hat, Starfield shirt. You're not a fanboy, you're an objective gamer.
dislike button and type your nasty and ignorant comment, let me throw some numbers at you that prove just how wrong you are.
Okay. And there's the drop.
Welcome to Starfield Signal, your place for everything Starfield. Now, listen, if you've watched my channel for any amount of time, you know that I try to stay positive and I try to elevate the discourse around Starfield and not get dragged into stupid arguments on the internet.
I've never been a big fan of this, where people try and get on a high horse when they say they're positive about things. They'll try and argue, well, I think positively. I have a glass half full mentality. You're just negative. Because as we all know, toxic positivity exists. If you're negative about absolutely everything, that's one thing. But if you're just positive about everything, no matter what, you're trusting in everything, how are you any better? And the reason people are still negative about Starfield 3-4 months on from release, it's not just something people totally moved on from, it's actually because of people having a positive mindset before the game came out. People were super excited. They'd been waiting. They were hungry for a new Bethesda title. They were starved. And they coped. They thought, oh, Fallout 76, that was a different team. This is going to be a genuine Todd Howard masterpiece. And then when it wasn't, that is why people raged, because we lost something there. Our heart was ripped out. We didn't get a proper Bethesda game. We got something that was totally putrid. That's why people are pissed, because we're probably never going to get a real Bethesda game again. We're in the post-mortem stage now. People are frustrated. It's all these years of being fans of the Elder Scrolls, Fallout, getting hyped for Starfield. People have to let it out. It's healthy.
The internet. But the level of hate that Starfield has been getting is just wild. It's kind of just asinine. So please forgive me if this video seems a bit spiteful, but every now and then it's okay to take a victory lap.
It was your baby. You built your whole identity around the game, then it comes out, it sucks, no one's interested. I can get why you're frustrated. But talking about a victory lap, are we talking about the video game Special Olympics here?
First, let's check in with the haters. As we all knew this was coming, Starfield was review bombed hard on Metacritic last week. The user score sits at a 6.4 out of 10.
6.4 is not bad. I've seen much worse than that. I've seen, 0-1 was it Diablo 4? That's in the red, I think. Yellow, that's pretty good for Starfield. I was actually shocked. I checked this because this video is a little bit old, but I checked the current user score of Starfield, and it wasn't that bad, to be honest. I was expecting much worse. Compared to the Steam reviews, where most recently they're mostly negative, I think what really happened is, as usual, Bethesda just managed to put their foot in it. People weren't that aggravated. They weren't really going on Steam and leaving negative reviews all that often, but what happened is Emil had to open his big mouth and start blaming players. Bethesda were responding to Steam reviews, and they were patronizing players. That managed to kickstart it, and then all of a sudden, everyone went, nope, Bethesda, you can get fucked. I'm going on there, I'm leaving a negative review. That's what started it, so Bethesda only have themselves to blame. That's why the reviews are mixed, and most recently, they are overwhelmingly negative.
With almost 6,000 user reviews, 3,442 were positive, 460 mixed, and 2,089 negative at the time of recording. And it's really sad that these haters can't even muster the energy to put a little creativity behind their negative comments. Hey,
let's have a look. Space exploration is non-existent. It doesn't exist. This point is truly disappointing, especially considering that it has constant loading screens that completely break immersion. What do you mean people weren't creative? This isn't a creative writing course. This isn't school. People bought a product, they didn't like it. They should be allowed to make their voice heard in any way possible. If they want to leave a 1 star, a 0 star, no other context, that is fine. The only real criteria to me is, have you played the game? I don't even think someone should have had to purchase the game, because you might have gone to a friend's house, played it, you both laughed at it together. You can leave a review as well. There needs to always be a way for customers to be able to get their voice out there. It's why I love Steam. It's why a lot of publishers hate it. They will do anything to silence the general public. We see it on YouTube. We all know why the dislike button was removed. But I've got to say, I was kind of shocked here. On the right, I can see that the Jimquisition gave Starfield a 4 out of 10. The Jimquisition is a bit of a clown now, but a 4 out of 10 on release, that is fitting. That probably upset this person.
if you don't play the game, the least you can do is actually listen to an actual critic's thoughts and then just kind of morph all those into negative opinions. But unfortunately, all the negative reviews are just an echo chamber of the same senseless and out of context.
They're not senseless. They're talking about no exploration. They're talking about the quests mostly being fetch ones, which gets you through all of the friggin' loading screens. It just becomes a post office simulator. I guarantee you that the positive reviews are just as brainless, but you're not going to apply any of the same logic there. Let's be honest.
Context phrases. With that out of the way, let's look at the fact that Starfield has rocketed to #1 in the UK sales charts.
Oh,
Christopher
sales
Dring
numbers
from GamesIndustry.biz tweeted, "Starfield is #1 in the UK box charts, which is impressive. It's not the biggest physical launch of 2023.
2022, he says. This guy is on the ball. But these sales numbers, any Starfield defenders using them as a metric to say the game is good, you are deluding yourselves, because in entertainment, in media, it doesn't really work how these guys think. If you're a brand new studio who has never released a game before, then yes, people are going to be really thinking about word of mouth. What are people saying about this new studio, this brand new game I've never heard of? I'm probably going to be a bit cautious when it comes to spending money. But when it's Starfield, when it's the creators of Skyrim, the recent Fallout games, people are going to be hyped. Marketing is going to work on people because you can use your past library of products to really push this new game. And that is exactly what they did with Starfield. People didn't buy it because it was standing on its own 2 feet. They thought, oh my god, look at this trailer, look at this gameplay, it's the best game of all time. No, it was the tagline from the makers of Skyrim, of Fallout 3, Fallout 4. People bought it because they trusted this company, because they'd had a good time with some of their previous titles. Now, they'll buy this, they'll be disappointed, lots of people will, and what it is actually going to do is affect sales of future games. Elder Scrolls 6, I'm not going to delude myself and pretend it's not going to be big, but will it be as big as if Skyrim was a genuinely fantastic game, or if it had have followed Skyrim? I don't think it will. Gaming media isn't going to mindlessly shill for it like they have for some of Bethesda's previous games, because they did that for Cyberpunk. They bought into all of the hype and they wanted to match what consumers were thinking. That blew up in their face. Cyberpunk had a bad launch. Customers lost trust. So gaming media, they'll put themselves first, and they'll probably be very skeptical of the Elder Scrolls 6. Online personalities are going to be making fun of it as well, and that does does trickle down into the mainstream. Even though the average person doesn't really care what IGN is saying or what someone on the internet is saying, it starts to feed through. That general perception will affect sales and it will affect hype for The Elder Scrolls 6. You think of Cyberpunk, it was exactly the same. The hype from the internet, it did trickle down to the general public. That's why it sold 25 plus million copies. Hype genuinely just goes everywhere. It is contagious. So The Elder Scrolls 6, it's already in some sort of trouble because of the dud that is Starfield. So to talk about great sales numbers for this game, no, Starfield reaped the benefits of previous work, but now it's going to be a problem long term. That's when they'll need to worry.
It's behind Hogwarts, Zelda, Star Wars, Resi 4, Final Fantasy 16, and Dead Island 2.
It's sold worse than Dead Island 2? How can you be calling this a victory lap when this prestigious game, the biggest Xbox release, it can't even beat Dead Island 2? That was like a Duke Nukem Forever. It was in development hell for so long, and I don't believe it's even good. I've got no interest in it. There was nothing there that was grabbing me. Jesus.
4, and that's significant because, and he continues, Diablo 4 was a major digital hit. Starfield will be similar because it's on the two most digital platforms.
Yeah, this is a good comparison, Diablo 4 and Starfield, because I remember Diablo 4 coming out, people liking it at first, people being salty if you criticized it. Now it's one of the most clowned on games on the internet. No one cares about it. Everyone's talking about free-to-play alternatives like Path of Exile. It's pretty much a dead game. They're going to sell you a yearly expansion. Who cares?
I want to say parenthetically here that I totally called this in a video that I released about a couple of months ago. And so if you want to kind of see the math and how I worked it all out, go check out that video.
Is this a joke? This is a video called Starfield will be bigger than GTA 5. Am I wrong in thinking that GTA 5 is the single biggest entertainment product of all time? It's bigger than like Avengers Endgame, pretty much any movie. You're suggesting that it's going to be bigger than GTA 5? The cope! I don't even know what to say, and you've got your little spreadsheet here. What have I stumbled into?
I estimated that 16.8 million players would install Starfield in its launch window, and I think I want to double down on that.
Did you do a spreadsheet on how many people have uninstalled Starfield? Those would be interesting statistics. Now, I wanted to spare you the rest of that previous video because it basically just wallows on with talk about sales numbers, which doesn't really make sense given it's on Game Pass. They start talking about metrics, playtime, all of this crap. That doesn't really matter. The big victory lap, it basically comes down to corporate figures. It's nothing about, are players having fun? Are they enjoying the game? What's this going to mean for The Elder Scrolls 6? We know it's going to be bad news, so we've moved on to this one. This is why Starfield is amazing, and I'm a little bit confused. It sounds like some sort of corporate marketing video. At the very least, it sounds like an AI voice, but maybe it's just very well spoken. Let's check it out.
I really enjoyed my first playthrough of Starfield. During my New Game Plus playthrough, I enjoyed it even more, as I was able to relax and experience the game at my own pace.
That's it, guys. If you didn't enjoy it the first time around, all it's going to take is a second playthrough. You may have wasted 120 hours, but I promise you, the 240, the full experience, that is all you need.
This game has been getting a lot of criticism lately, and I understand the frustration to some extent. But Starfield is not as bad as people set it out to be. There are some amazing features in this game that make it worth playing, at least once.
Oh, let's strap in.
Here are some of my favorite features in Starfield. As a commander coming from Elite Dangerous, I have always liked
the RPG, the role-playing game, it's no good. It's got nothing we want. Ship interiors. Don't you question this game. The ship interiors are fantastic. Nothing else matters. The exploration, the characters, the story, it's all overcome. Just watch this point.
longed for ship interiors. It was the one thing missing from Elite that I always wanted to experience. With Starfield, that dream became a reality. Even though it's a different game, I was excited to finally be able to walk inside my ship, interact with objects, store my loot, and just—
Can you even do anything in the ships? I think maybe you can press the flush button on the toilet, you've got your storage, but all of this is fluff. It's a A big thing in modern games that I find where the art team is totally disconnected from the team who's doing the gameplay. Because if you look at this, if you ignore the graphics, they're not really state of the art for 2023, but they're alright, that's not Starfield's worst point. You look at all of these screens, everything that's going on, but you can barely actually interact with anything. Most of it is just totally fluff, it's art, it's background music, background noise, basically. Whereas older games, most of what was there for a reason. It did genuinely have a purpose, and maybe that's just a me thing, but I kind of miss that from older titles.
Walk around the ship while admiring everything. I paid full price for Starfield, and if you ask me, this experience alone was enough to make it worth every penny.
I paid more than full price for Starfield. I bought the deluxe edition with the shattering space expansion, poor me. Gunplay.
FPS combat is one of the coolest features in Starfield.
Cool.
You can really feel the
Have
impact.
You played an FPS before? He keeps talking about Elite Dangerous. I haven't played that, but I believe it's some sort of space sim. Maybe that's where the comparison is coming from. If you've only played space sims, you don't care about first-person shooters, sure, it might be amazing, it might be your cup of tea, but from anyone who's actually played a first-person shooter, it's total mediocrity.
Every bullet, and guns feel heavy and real in this game. Being able to boost up from the ground and take down enemies from above feels quite satisfying as well. As
the
a fan
jetpack
of
in
FPS
Elix was better than this. Elix was made by like 30 people or something. Bethesda had 200 plus people. Check out Elix if you haven't played that one. It's better than Starfield.
While space exploration in
exploration, is this on
Starfield
the
is not as
positive
great as
list?
an Elite Dangerous, exploring planets is much more exciting. On every planet, you discover something cool and new in Starfield. Even though it's procedurally generated, these areas feel massive and rich with engaging environments.
Yeah, massive, yeah. I mean, that's you could have just put a full stop there. The rest of it, oh, it's creative. There's so much going on. If you understand how it works, it all falls over. I've thought about this before, Pokemon Go. Remember how big that game blew up? And why was it? Mostly because casual fans who didn't even play current Pokemon games on Nintendo consoles, they were nostalgic about Pokemon Red and Blue and basically nothing else. They hadn't played a Pokemon for maybe 15 years. Those people love Pokemon Go. The reason why is they're not really experienced gamers, meaning they download the app on their phone, and in their heads, anything can possibly happen. And I'm not trying to be elitist about this at all. It's just if you don't understand games, you would think, oh, isn't that interesting that when I go to a park, a Pokemon appears? How great is it that the game's able to do that? But they don't really understand that it is all procedurally generated. It's just totally random. And when that actually sinks in, that the game's basically pointless and it's just throwing random combinations of stuff at you, you start to lose interest because you start to realize that it's impossible that you'll find anything genuinely interesting because they have to plan for all the people who don't have to run into that, given the fact that it's all random.
You get to explore weird vegetation, scary creatures, and cool locations that will make it worthwhile to explore no matter where you land. Fully exploring planets to discover unique locations, creatures, and resources feels really exciting.
This has to be a marketing video. This is saying a whole lot of nothing. It's basically just commenting on features in the game and saying they're remarkable, they're prestigious, they're incredible. But none of it is. The whole problem with the game is that the depth isn't there. When you really sink your teeth into any of these individual areas of the game, they're all bland. They're all just super boring. Random encounters.
Starfield will always try to keep you on your toes by throwing random encounters at you, no matter where you go. When you land on planets, you will encounter random ships that land near you. You can go steal these ships if you want.
Yeah, that's fun, maybe
You will
once.
also meet random people
You were
on
talking about
planets
playing
and
for
major
like
cities
200
who will
hours.
offer
New
side
Game
quests
Plus,
for you to
it
complete.
loses all interest after 30
When
minutes.
exploring in space, you will encounter random ships that will ask you to do things. Some of the encounters will end very differently than you'd imagine.
I don't know about that.
These encounters add variety to your gameplay experience.
Yeah, this has to be some sort of marketing. The quests as well, talking about them being interesting. Sure, there's a couple of faction quest lines that are all right, but how many of the quests are literally post-office simulator? I think, and this might be slightly controversial, Fetch quests can have a place if the aim is to get you exploring the world. For instance, if you go to one city and they tell you, hey, can you deliver this to another town? But the aim is, this game's open world. If you go to this other town, it's going to take you through some very interesting locations that we want you to see. I think something like that can be okay. The issue in Starfield is that logic goes out the window because a fetch quest becomes a tedious list of little tasks, which is open up the map. You've got to jump to the right solar system. You've got to find the right planet. You've got to press the right button on your keyboard to land your ship. You've got to go through an animation to get off. The process is totally pointless. And if the aim, which I think it genuinely is to take you to other planets, it's a terrible way to go about it. They should have just by default had some way of telling you, hey, these are the planets where there is actually handcrafted content. That is the only way they can possibly improve that system at this point, and it's still a dud. It's a band-aid fix because the foundation is broken, but that's literally all they can do.
Thanks for watching.
Yeah, this can't be real. This must be Microsoft testing their new AI. Didn't they buy some company? This must be the start of that. They're getting these shill channels AI generated to tell you their products are exceptional. Well, the positive effect is you'll have these Starfield fanboys tucked up in bed at night, listening to this on their headphones, going, oh, the world is okay, Starfield is good. At least they're happy. For the rest of us, we're sadly living in the real world, and we have to pay witness to this. So, thanks so much for listening. I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.